The calendar had just changed over to 2004. It's now February 2004. Muppet Vision 3D had been open for about 14 years now and is a fan favorite. And Disney had decided it's time to pursue a purchase of the Muppets. On February 17th, 2004, the Walt Disney Company announced that they had agreed to acquire the Muppets and Bear in the Big Blue House from the Jim Henson Company. Brian Henson said, quote, "This new and very important relationship will enable our two companies to combine our respective talents and resources in ways that will fully realize the tremendous potential of the Muppet and Bear franchises." Michael Eisner's long-standing passion and respect for the Muppets give me and my family even more confidence in Disney as a partner. Michael Eisner spoke about Inquisition and said, quote, "Since the time I worked with Jim Henson on the very first Muppet TV special in the 1960s, it was obvious to me that his characters would make a deep imprint on the hearts of families worldwide, and this announcement is the culmination of a long-time desire to welcome them into the Walt Disney Company." The transaction closed on April 2004, and Disney formed the Muppets Holding Company LLC, which later became the Muppet Studios. The Muppets were then reintroduced to the public by marketing products and guest appearances on TV shows such as Good Morning America and America's Funniest Home Videos. But a new movie was due, and it was announced that the Muppets would star in a new version of The Wizard of Oz. Sandpiper Vacations is a small business with a large team of travel experts. They are LGBTQ+ owned and operated by Nick and Sean Bryan. The Sandpiper travel agents create personalized vacation packages for each guest and are able to book Disney World, Disneyland, Universal, Alani, and cruises from many different cruise lines, including Disney Cruise Line, Royal Caribbean,
Virgin Voyages, and the upcoming Creed Cruise.
So head to sandpipervacations.com and get a free, yes that's right, absolutely free quote, and take away the stress of booking vacations, and let your travel agent handle it. Thank you to Sandpiper Vacations, and now back to the video. The Muppets Wizard of Oz was announced by the Jim Henson Company after the Disney acquisition. Muppets Holding Company would produce the film, and it would air on TV, similar to the last two Muppet films. Pre-production took place in February 2004. The script was written by Deborah Frank and Steve L. Hayes. After the script was written and completed, ABC decided to make several changes. Tom Martin and Adam F. Goldberg took the script and put more elements from the original book and the 1939 musical film. Composer Michael Giacchino was brought on to write 5 original songs for the film. Ashanti, who happens to be a musician and tours as a solo singer, was cast as Dorothy. Filming began in September 2004 in Vancouver, Canada. When talking about the film in the press, ABC said the film would be based on the original book and not the 1939 film. Singer and actress Ashanti was casted as Dorothy. Kermit would play the Scarecrow. Gonzo would play the Tin Man. Fozzie as the Cowardly Lion. Miss Piggy as the Wicked Witch of the West. Pepe as Toto, Queen Latifah as Aunt Em, David Alan Grier as Uncle Henry, and Jeffrey Tambor as the Wizard. Now, it makes no sense why Pepe is Toto. Toto is a dog, not a prawn. Why would anyone have a prawn as a pet? I don't know. Also, they don't use black and white for the scenes that take place in Kansas. Yeah, you know the crucial part of the story where the very unique way of showing what Dorothy thinks of her home? Not here. Not only is this a huge wasted opportunity to not have everyone in Oz be puppets, including Dorothy herself, because it would be a cool way of showing that Oz is a magical and whimsical land. They also don't make the Kansas scenes black and white. I get not copying the 1939 film, but that scene is not only so cool visually, but it also has an amazing way of portraying the life that Dorothy seems boring, by having it be very dull and literally no color on the screen. Filming took place for 1 month. Ashanti was very excited to work with the Muppets. When asked about working with them, she said, quote, "The director has has had to give me a few pointers and tips for acting with him, but the most important thing that I learned was to keep eye contact. That director that she referred to was Kurt Thatcher, a longtime writer for the Muppets, and had previously directed It's a Very Muppet Christmas Movie. To promote the film, the Muppets did multiple shows like Jimmy Kimmel Live, The Tony Danza Show, Regis and Kelly, and Saturday Night Live. Also, Ashanti did an interview where she said that the Muppets were like children. Clearly, she does not understand the Muppets. Starting in December 2004, there were commercials that starred the Muppets to promote the upcoming movie. The commercials spoofed popular ABC shows and officially kicked off the ad campaign for the film. The movie itself begins with Dorothy in Kansas. She wants to leave and become a famous singer. She hears that the Muppets are looking for a female singer. She decides to audition, and on her way home, the tornado hits and sweeps her and Toto up. Toto is played by Pepe, which again makes no sense, because Toto is a dog. He's very important in the story. He's not important in the story at all here. And there are Muppet dogs that exist, but for some reason they decided to not use any of them. When Dorothy arrives in Munchkinland, she accidentally kills the Wicked Witch of the East when her trailer lands on her. Instead of ruby slippers, Dorothy gets silver shoes. Dorothy then takes the yellow brick road to meet the Wizard of Oz. She meets the Scarecrow, Tin Thing, and a lion. When they arrive at Oz, he tells them that he wants the Wicked Witch of the West's magic eye. And this is the part of the movie where they just kind of bullshit for a little bit. You know, it's not really that long of a movie. It's an hour and 40 minutes. Okay, then they go to the Wicked Witch's lair. The flying monkeys capture them, but Dorothy is able to escape and kicks the Wicked Witch of the West into a bath full of tap water. When they go back to Oz, he grants them their wish. Also, the flying monkeys, they're like a biker gang for some reason. Dorothy becomes a singer in the land of Oz, but decides to go back home. When she gets back home, she finds out she was selected by the Muppets, and she becomes a star singer. This ending is so bad and completely destroys the whole point of the Wizard of Oz story. First off, Dorothy is supposed to be dreaming the entire time. In this version, she's actually missing. Like, this is real. What? That doesn't make any sense. Dorothy's character arc is also that she realizes that she has all she needs at home and that she's happier than at the beginning of the film. By having the wizard be a guy that can actually grant riches is such a misunderstanding of source material that it's honestly unbelievable. This disgraceful adaptation debuted at the Tribeca Film Festival on April 27, 2005. This film was then destroyed by critics who saw the early screening, saying it mismanaged the story and had way too much unnecessary pop culture humor. Clearly, this wasn't enough to stop the Muppet Studio and Jim Henson Company as the Muppets Wizard of Oz debuted on May 20th, 2005. The audiences hated the film. The ratings were great, as the premiere was watched by 7.75 million viewers. But the film is right there with Kermit Swamp Ears as being the worst Muppet movie. I want to go back to the ending because it's really weird to me why they decided to make this whole thing be real and not a dream. Like, that's why the Scarecrows are, the Scarecrow, Lion, and the Tin Man are her family. That's why the Wicked Witch of the West is the evil neighbor that she doesn't like. Like, all this makes sense in the original story, but not here. Like, why so Kermit and Gonzo is dating Camilla in this, so why, like, are they there and then they're also in the, it just doesn't make any sense. Really, I need, like, why do I do this to myself? Because it's time to watch the Muppets Wizard of Oz now.
Okay, well, I just finished watching Muppets Wizard of Oz, and I got some things to say about it, and most of the things I have to say are not positive, because this is an atrocious movie. This may be the worst. I think this is the worst movie I've ever seen in my entire life. I remember watching this one other time before and being like, yeah, I think I never need to see again. And, well, here we are. This is also something when I started this series I was dreading. And this has been painful, watching Kermit Swamp Ears And then this back-to-back month has been awful. Thank God the payoff is at the end, the light at the end of the tunnel with Muppets 2011, because I don't know what I would do if the rest of the Muppet movies were stinkers. But they are far from that. So it's like you get through the pain now, and then like the bangers are next. You know what I mean? So like, thank God. Thank God for Muppets 2011. I've never been more excited, I think, definitely for this series. I've never been more excited to watch the next one. This entire movie, actually, I was thinking I could be doing so many better things right now with my time. Yeah, let's get into it. So it starts with the most 2000s thing I've ever seen in my life. It starts with the most horrendous, with a horrendous song by Ashanti, which, first off, Dorothy Gale is like 9 years old, 12 years old in Wizard of Oz. Ashanti is 24 years old when she made this movie. Why does she play Dorothy? There's no reason why she should be playing Dorothy. This movie is a prime example of film studios messing with creativity, because there's things in this film that just don't make any sense, and like, why did you think that was a good idea to put in? And what was the thought process behind some of this? And I'll get to all this stuff. Us to the main. This movie is a prime example of film studios messing with creativity, because there's things in this film that just don't make any sense, and like, why did you think that was a good idea to put in? And what was the thought process behind some of this? And I'll get to this. I'll get to all this stuff. So yeah, she sings this song, this horrible song. The movie is like, color-wise is atrocious. Whoever did the color grading needs to be fired immediately. Never work in Hollywood again. It's so dull looking. It's almost gray, and it's not black and white. You know that like iconic thing in Wizard of Oz where the dull, mundane life is black and white, and then when she gets to the magical land, then it's Technicolor and color galore, and a breakthrough in the movie industry at the time. Why would you do that? You know what I mean? They make so many changes to the Wizard of Oz, like, the story is barely even recognizable. Dorothy wants to be a famous singer with the Muppets, so she goes to an audition. Like, Dorothy's original, she didn't really want to, like, tell me you don't understand a fucking story without telling me you don't understand a story. Like, Dorothy doesn't really want to leave Kansas necessarily. She leaves because her dog Toto is threatened to be killed. So, like, yeah, you're gonna want to leave if that happens. She is kind of bored of the farm life, but, like, at the same time, she then, and this is the same thing, kind of, but not really, with Dorothy in this movie, she kind of learns to be like, oh, there's no place like home, and it kind of happens here, but not really at the same time, because the ending is just completely butchered in so many levels. So, the tornado happens, and this whole movie could have been avoided if you didn't have your storm cellar outside. Where there's a tornado, why are you going outside of your house when there's a tornado coming in Kansas? Don't go outside of the house. Why would you put that there? It's the most out of place thing I can possibly see. It's literally as if, and I guarantee you this happened, if the writers were like, hey, we need a reason for Dorothy to be outside because she doesn't live on a farm. Get rid of that. There's so many changes in this. The story is not recognizable. If you showed me this, I wouldn't be able to know that it was a Wizard of Oz story. They take Dorothy out of the farm. They make her work in a cafe. They take her age off. She's 24 years old in this movie. They take all the characters'
motivations and what makes them special, completely strip them of that. It's awful. They split the Good Witch of the North into like 5 different characters. You know, Miss Piggy plays like 5 different people in this. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. They get rid of the ruby slippers. It's terrible. So she gets swept up in the tornado. She kills the Wicked Witch of the West's sister, and then she has to go on the Yellow Brick Road. So Kermit, Fozzie, Gonzo, they all play the Cowardly Lion, the Tin Man, and the Scarecrow. They don't sing a song. You know, the very like charming song that introduces us to the characters, and it's a very charming way and very cute way of introducing us to the main characters of the story. Completely gone. You know, why would we need that?
For some reason, the Tin Man is a robot in this version, even though he's not a robot in the original.
In the actual story, he's not a robot. I don't know why he is a robot. I also don't know why they said that
all of the characters are turned into these creatures by the Wicked Witch of the West, because they should be just Oz residents. They're not under a curse. And the curse, quote unquote, is never broken. That's just kind of dropped. It's just kind of mentioned and just completely dropped. I guarantee you they forgot about it. Also, Gonzo, it's kind of weird because Gonzo is referred to as the Tin Man. He's a completely different character in this because all Muppet movies are movies in their universes. But he still name drops Camilla, his wife, canonically his wife, his chicken wife, and is in love with her in this movie.
But he's not Gonzo. He's the Tin Man. Why would you make him not be Gonzo, right? Kermit isn't Kermit in this. Fozzie isn't Fozzie in this. They're all their characters. Why would you then write Camilla into this? It makes no sense. He's saying that he was turned into a robot because he loved Camilla too much, and then his temptation is love or whatever. That makes no... Why would you completely break your number one rule for your, like, entire existence with the Muppets is that they're movie actors in their universes, and that completely goes out the fucking window in this movie because of that. It's laziness. It's laziness for a cheap joke. It's embarrassing. This whole movie is embarrassing. It's embarrassing to the Henson name that this thing was made and that this thing can still be viewed. I can't believe that this abomination of a film was put onto a screen. If I was the Henson children and I saw this, I would block it from coming out. I would be like, there's no shot we are releasing this. It is a disgrace that this was made. It looks ugly. It doesn't make any sense. It's not faithful at all to the Wizard of Oz story. They make unnecessary changes. The Poppy Field is a club for some reason, which like Dorothy dies in. Like, you don't die in the Poppy Fields. The Poppy Fields aren't poison themselves. The Wicked Witch of the West puts a curse over the Poppy Fields to trap Dorothy. Like, why are they just going? They're just like, oh, we'll stop in here for some reason. You know, why you stop? That's not explained. It just happens. Like, a lot of things just kind of happen. No explanation to it whatsoever. The wizard, you know, where the Emerald City itself is atrocious looking. It looks like a PS2 game. This was made in 2005. The Incredibles and Finding Nemo came out before this, and it looks like that. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That is absolutely ridiculous that it looks that bad. I will give it to Jeffrey Tambor, though. He plays a good wizard. Although the writing for him is completely screwed up, of course. You know, he's only the Wizard of Oz. He's only the namesake of the movie. Why would you pay attention to writing him, you know what I mean? It's the one thing that you can't screw up is the actual wizard. It's so easy to write this character. You're professional writers, and you can't write the Wizard of Oz? Come on, man. These 2 executives, I forget their name, but the 2 executives for the TV station should never work in Hollywood again for what they did to this film. So he wants the eye of the witch, which, like, again, why is it not the broom? That's it. It was the broom before. Why is it not the broom? So Miss Piggy plays the witch. They kill the Wicked Witch of the West. They bring him the eye. They realize that he's just a dude. But then he grants their wishes. The point of the story is that they along the journey they realize that all of their wishes are actually things that they have inside of themselves, right? He doesn't actually grant their wish in the 1939 film, in the good version of this movie. Lion realizes that he is brave throughout this adventure. It's a very good message to have. This, they just take that completely out. Like Kermit's literally, or the Scarecrow is literally given a brain. Like, this movie is made for literal toddler infants, and it's not even, because there's sex jokes in this. There's sex and drug jokes in this. So it's not. It's not. The Gonzo, when he first goes into the Emerald City, that's not for kids. Are you kidding me? There's a sexy lady on my screen. A horribly rendered, supposed to be a sexy lady on my screen that Gonzo's being turned on by. That's not for kids. There's a joke where they say about Dark Side of the Moon, if you start Dark Side of the Moon in The Wizard of Oz, it lines up correctly, so there's a joke made about that. I started Dark Side of the Moon, it didn't line up at all. So, why would you even, joke about that? The Dark Side of the Moon is only, the biggest selling record, the third biggest selling record of all time. No one's gonna actually have that to cue it up and test to see if your joke is funny. And also, Pepe is I don't like Pepe. He's annoying in every movie he's in, including this one. Why is he Toto? Why is he Toto? There's a mention about Dorothy wanting a dog. For some reason, Dorothy has a horrible relationship with her uncle and aunt. So she wants a dog, and then her aunt says no, and says, they bring in fleas. Not all dogs. So why is Pepe a dog? You have a dog. Miss Piggy has a dog. There's a dog Muppet. You could just make Toto the dog Muppet. I honestly don't know what to say anymore. David Alan Grier and Queen Latifah are phoning it in the entire time. Some of the line deliveries in this are just absolutely atrocious. I feel bad for Queen Latifah because she has the worst filmography of all time. Every movie she's in is just absolute garbage, including this one. And you should never watch this movie. I'm never gonna watch it again. There is Quentin Tarantino makes an appearance, which was kind of funny, but not really. He's the only one giving a shit about this entire movie, or actually trying. It would have been funny if it wasn't in this movie, to be honest, because it's not. It's not very funny. So yeah, it's just weird at some points. There's a Kelly Osbourne appearance a cameo for some reason. Why is that in there? Honestly, right now I'm gonna go put on Dark Side of the Moon and watch Wizard of Oz. So yeah, after that, next video is going to be Muppets 2011, and finally, I can stop completely destroying these movies in these reviews, because just the run that we've been on is just a generational run of atrocious films. So join me for Muppets 2011. I'm gonna go listen to Pink Floyd.
On November 23rd, 2009, the Muppets YouTube channel started uploading a ton of videos. One of these videos was the Muppets covering Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody. The cover would go viral and now has 198 million views. Also, the Ode to Joy Beaker cover and Carvin de Pumpkin was also in this group of videos and also had millions of views. This catapulted the Muppets back into popularity, especially for a younger audience. A year earlier in 2008, Jason Segel and Nicholas Stoller pitched a concept for a new Muppets movie to Karen Falk, Disney Studio Executive Vice President of Production at the time. Disney liked the concept and decided to offer a deal to write a script. Variety reported the news, and later in 2008, Nicholas Stoller started speaking in interviews about the script a little bit. Disney's first Muppet movie was going to happen, and this was the end of the dark ages of the Muppet films in the 2000s.
Fans were excited when they heard the news that Disney had announced a new Muppet film was coming, me included. The Muppets Wizard of Oz was a pretty big disappointment and failure. But what was about to come would be the complete opposite.